Welcome from the Enterprise Business Collaboration 2017. I'm Christina from WeConnect and I'm here with Liviu Mihaileanu from PricewaterhouseCoopers.
Hi.
Liviu, welcome to the conference and thank you so much for your time to participate in the interview. As a start, do you mind just introducing yourself and tell us a bit more about your professional background?
My professional background goes back about 20 years with some extensive experience in business management and collaboration. And for the last 10 years, I have been with PwC. And recently, after I joined PwC, I started leading an international project on collaboration and business research, which in the end turned out to be one of the core services that PwC has in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And starting this financial year, I have taken the lead for all the knowledge and collaboration services that are provided in EMEA by PwC for internal use.
And what does knowledge management and collaboration look like at PricewaterhouseCoopers, just to paint like a rough picture?
There is a really diverse and challenging environment because we're talking about hundreds of offices in about 150 countries. And we are talking about a complex regulatory environment. We are talking about diving into an ocean of information. And information is produced within PwC in several projects ever since we started its interview. So every single minute within PwC there is knowledge produced. And our challenge is how do we make it most relevant for our client-facing consultants.
And how do you do that? How do you make it relevant and how do you cope with the information overload?
We've gone a long way from content repository to how do we connect people and expertise and how do we foster networking environment. So what we've learned is that content in itself is useless if not connected to people and networks, and the people, if they cannot find the content and they cannot connect into networks, they are small islands that would miss all the knowledge that is being produced every day in PwC. And of course, if we don't foster networks, so they would create by themselves and grow up by themselves, and one expert would reach out to a certain network for clarifications and he could get an answer in seconds. If we don't do that, then again we are missing a great deal of the knowledge that we have in PwC. There was a study a few years ago which showed that globally the companies are using between $1 billion and $1.3 trillion because we are not using what we already have. We may not get to reaching out the $1.3 trillion because none of us can get 100% what we have in our courtyard, but at least we can make steps toward that.
And you also presented a case study this morning on digital transformation in information and news management. Tell us a bit more about that. What did you present?
That was a local initiative that turned out to be best practice. In PwC Netherlands, there has been the need of incorporating some local sources into a news distribution platform. And that news distribution platform turned out into having some pieces of artificial intelligence that would really go further than having a news distribution within PwC in EMEA. And what we do right now is also have a module which would go into the external sources that we have access to, and our client-facing staff who can go and search within more than one of our external sources and get the information right ahead. And if they don't find the information there as a self-service desk, we are also providing them a research desk which would go further into external and internal sources and would get the information that the inquirer is looking for in less than 24 hours.
And what was your project so particularly successful? What were the initial points or the points that you overcame and that made it really successful in the end?
I started with Knowledge Link, which is the research desk, and at the time I started it more than 7 years ago, the delivering time was 72 hours. And I was really keen on reducing that. And I'm happy that today, if a client-facing consultant would send an inquiry during afternoon, by the time that they are waking up the next morning, they have a 95% chance that they get the information in their inbox.
Yeah.
So we are really moving towards that fast delivery promise that we had for our internal clients.
And where do you see digital transformation heading for PricewaterhouseCoopers? Where do you think it will lead to in 5 years?
Well, in the next 5 years, I would see that all the services would be seamlessly integrated. Our inquirers don't need to know they have Pulse and Knowledge Link and all these internal solutions. They just need to get what they need at the moment they need. So having all those services integrated, that they would not even know what kind of service they are using, they would just get what they need, is the place where we're going towards.
What are your insights of the conference so far? I mean, what has essentially brought you here, and what is your feedback so far? Have you achieved everything you really set out to do?
It was really interesting because it started with some presentations on tools, on IT, how IT is coping with nowadays flow of information. And then it turned out into content. So there have been some presentations into how we can make content appealing and how we can foster content creation and distribution. And my presentation came actually at a moment where there was the need to come with a knowledge sharing culture, which is, let's say, the next layer that we need to embed into our companies. So I think it was a really good transition of and levels of information that every participant could get out of this conference.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much for sharing your insights. It's much appreciated. And I hope you enjoy the other World Cafes and the rest of the conference.